Welcome back to the Nano Cruising Podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Marceau. Today we have a very practical episode where we go through the details of what's needed for a weekend cruise or week-long cruise. It's a very packed episode, so let's get on to it. So today we have something a little different because a lot of people have asking, those interviews with guests and all that are fun, they're great stories, but some people have been asking for practical things. So I've reached out to a couple people, and one of them is my first repeat guest, Kelly from the Can-Am Group. He's got a lot of experience. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Stefan. I'm glad to be back. This is always fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and I think it'll be fun to talk about how to get prepared for an outing. Well, a weekend outing and a week outing, but we'll start with the weekend, I think, which is where most people are afraid to start, really. So let's start talking about it. So you have a list, and we'll share that as well. You have a list, and you can tell me a little bit how that came about, and we'll go through it a little bit. Yeah.
I'm a real checklist guy, and I think this goes back to two things. One, I'm forgetful as hell. And two,
as I get older, I'm the same too.
Exactly, right? But it also came from training in flying. When I was learning to fly, everything was checklist, and it really stuck with me. It was one of those things that really got ingrained. And it's not enough to have a checklist. You got to really follow it, right? So, and it's funny. Here I am, 30 years later, since I've even flown an airplane, and I can still remember, primer lock, master on, mags on both, carb heat, hot mixture. Like I can, right off the top of my head, say this, but I would never do it when I'm flying. No. You go down the list and you make sure.
Right.
And so the cruising checklist that I use now originally came from one of our other Can-Am members, Brian.
He's also got tons of experience too.
Oh, huge. I mean, and he's so organized, this guy, like you can't believe. So he gave me a version of his, and so I've modified it over time to fit different boats and different kinds of trips, and depending if it's a bigger boat or an open boat or whatever. But the basic bones of it remains. And, it's funny because, we talk about if it's a weekend trip or if it's a week-long trip or 2 weeks or whatever. The funny thing is that it doesn't change that much. Yeah, the preparation and the gear itself doesn't really change a whole lot other than your food.
Correct.
And maybe, a couple of extra pair of underwear or something. Right? So
a few more rag bags. And
you got to look after that too, right?
Right.
But basically, this is broken down into different categories. So we've got mooring, we've got safety, we've got sailing, we've got dinghy. So if you're towing a dinghy, then a big one that a lot of people don't think about too much, but is really important, is the trailer. And then navigation, cabin interior, galley, facilities, motor, and then even entertainment and sleeping. And those are sort of the key ones that we use. And then they get kind of broken down from there. So, when we look at, let's start off with trailer.
Right.
I think this is one that so many of us don't think about.
Yes. Yes.
And if you can't get to the trip, there's the whole thing. Nothing else matters.
Even start better. The tow vehicle, which has been my issue.
Right? So. Yes, exactly. Got the oil changed and check it out. Make sure that basic maintenance is done, that your trailer hitch is okay, that your lighting works,
correct,
etc. Because you don't want to run into an issue there. We were just on a trip, about a month ago, I guess, something like that. And my buddy Jim came up from Buffalo, and so he'd done all the work, got everything ready to go, and he's driving up, and doesn't he have a problem on the way with his trailer?
Right, yes.
The bearings go,
right,
on one of his hubs.
Right.
And
that's
just awful, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, he pulls over, and of course, It's right in the middle of rush hour
Right.
on the side of the
Oh
highway.
man.
It's just a real pain. But he got it all. He took it all apart. He got the parts that he needed, and of course, then it started to rain. Pouring rain. Poor guys out there. But he got it all fixed up, and he got all the way to the trip. Now, again, these kinds of things can happen. You can't 100% prepare for everything. But he had the right tools to go with him, so you want to make sure you've got your tools with you. So that needs to be on the checklist, and that you can do some basic repairs, right? And so he got it all put back together again. He made it all the way up to the trip. And when he got there, we got the boat off into the water and everything. And then we took another closer look. And the other hub was now starting to go. And
Wow.
And so he was really lucky. Brian had all the tools, everything, torque wrench, like the whole deal.
Wow.
And it's great just to make sure that, things like a lug nut wrench, you need a good one, and it might not be the same size as the one that you use for your car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want something that you can work with. You want to have a decent jack, all those types of things, right? Because that can ruin your whole holiday if you don't have that set. Have yourself some axle grease, if you need spare bearing covers and those types of things. Really, really key. So check that all out before you go anywhere. And what I do with this list is generally I'll start off with it, and I started off checking these items off physically on the paper. I print them off, and I take it with me on a clipboard, and I just go down the list.
Right.
And I'll use sometimes I'll use a pencil first. It sounds crazy, but this is who I am. I go through with a pencil and I'll click stuff off.
Right.
Because sometimes I don't load it 100% into the truck until the day of, right? Because I don't want to leave it in my truck overnight or whatever. And then what I do is anything that's in pencil, I go back over it again with the pen. And until everything is marked in pen, then I don't go anywhere. And I try to have things so that I've got kind of two of things, or something that can work in place of something, so that if it breaks, like the old saying, right? 2 is 1 and 1 is none, kind of a thing.
Right.
And to the best of your ability, it's always a good idea to have that. So, if we move into something like to the mooring category, right? So you need anchors and rope.
Right.
So you want to make sure, how many anchors are you going to take? Again,
what do you take? How many do you take? It depends on the trip, right?
On the trip,
right.
Like the last one when we did the Manitoulin 250, and I was looking, there was a lot of places here that were really exposed, and we didn't have a lot of great anchorages for the whole south shore of the island. I took three beefy anchors.
3.
Yeah. The trip that's coming up, I'll probably just take 2. I always take a minimum of 2 anchors.
Right.
2 good anchors that work well for that area.
Right.
As well. Like, where we go, Georgian Bay a lot, like the roll bar anchors work really well, and the Bruce anchors work really well. Something like the Danforths, they're not so great.
Right.
Because the type of soil and clay and things like that, it's a little bit too hard for those to dig in well. So again, forethought, right? You got to think ahead a little bit. What's the area? If I was going in Florida, or if I was in North Carolina or someplace like that, Danforth might be the one to take, right? So again, you want to think about where are we going with it. Things like you want to have a good boat hook, and boom tent, especially with the smaller boats. Right, like our potters,
right?
Man, that's like your living room, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you got to make sure you've got something like a boom tent, fenders, float and trip lines, floating tow rope. That's just part of your legal requirements.
Legal requirements in Canada, absolutely.
Yeah. Again, if it's on the list, man, you're gonna have it with you, right? You just make sure that you check it all off.
Great. Yeah, let's get into the safety. So you have
So safety stuff. Again, some of this is sort of Coast Guard approved items, Coast Guard regulated items. So things like your bailing scoop or a bilge pump, depending on your boat, fire extinguisher, right? Don't mess around with this stuff. We're all cooking on board. You've got gas on board for your outboards, etc. Get a decent fire extinguisher. They're not that expensive, and make sure it's there. Flares is another one that's good. I take flares on the boat, even though I'm not legally required to, for the size of the boat that I have. Yeah. But if you're out there, you get separated from everybody else, or if you're out there on your own, it's a great way to go. You don't know if your radio's not going to work 100%. It's good to have, again, you got your radio and you got your flares, right? One is none and two is one kind of a thing, right?
Usually my flares are expired, but I take them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, better to have them than not, right?
Exactly.
And then I look at things like the life jackets. Am I going to just take a life jacket? Am I going to take a survival suit, depending on the area, depending on the time of year?
The weather, the water temperature, and so on, right?
Absolutely. Like, you remember we went to, where were we? Penetang, and
right?
We had frost and ice and everything, right? So absolutely had the fur hat on for that trip.
No kidding.
That was a frosty one. My boat, I can use oars on the boat, right? You just set yours up too for that.
I did. But I'd say even if you don't have an oar lock, you should still have at least that. Sometimes it's helpful to have oars with you.
So absolutely. Get yourself some paddles, and but the boats, they actually row fairly well, and if you can set it up so that you can store your oars someplace that they're not right in the way, either right along the centerboard trunk. I store mine sort of along the centerboard trunk, right down the center line of the boat, in the cabin, in my potter. And they're just long enough that I can just fit them in there. And I wouldn't want to row forever and a day with them. But they're great for zipping around in the
dock or marina. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then when we get to a cove, sometimes it's kind of nice, right? You can row around, visit with the other guys, and I don't take a dinghy generally with a boat this size. I don't bother to tow a dinghy with me. But I know that a lot of the guys that have the small keel boats, 18, 19 foot with the keel boat, it's kind of nice to have the dinghy if you want to go ashore.
Yeah. I have a little inflatable dinghy, it's like $10. It's like it's a pool toy, really.
It was so funny. We were on a trip
but it's
one
useful
time.
Sometimes.
My buddy Marty, he brought a dinghy with him. I forget what boat he had. Anyhow, he wanted to have a dinghy, so that's exactly what he did. He went to Walmart and he bought this, it was like a pool toy.
That's
almost,
right. That's right.
And so we're sailing along, and all of a sudden we get hit with this big wind, almost like a squall. And the dinghy was just doing loops, it was just going around and around. It was winding itself up, ready to go upside down, right side up. Anyway, he used it for the whole trip, and then I think he returned it to Walmart. After the trip was over, he got his $20 back, but he got his money's worth out of it anyway.
Funny.
But yeah, the it's nice to be able to just kind of visit around, and like I say, sometimes I go into these marinas and there's a lot of expensive boats, and my motor doesn't have a proper reverse. It's like you spin the motor around,
right?
Reverse, right. Sometimes I'll just row it out, and because it's just, I'm in better control that way. I can just row it out, and it works really well. And again, it's a nice sort of a backup if my motor ever dies on me. I've got that, right?
Absolutely.
I like to take a little radio, like an AM/FM radio,
right? Okay,
with me. Yeah. Sometimes in the morning, I'm having my coffee or whatever.
Listen to the news.
It's kind of nice. And the other thing is, just sort of from the safety factor, is you can still pick up weather.
Right.
So if your VHF dies and you can't get weather through that, or you're in an area where there's no cell reception, that I can still get a basic weather report on my AM/FM radio, right?
Good point.
And then your VHF, of course, is good to have.
Yes.
And that's good for communication between boats. If you need to get a hold of somebody at the Coast Guard, any of that type of thing. But also, again, for your weather.
Yes.
Right, tool bag and parts. It's always good to have just some extra nuts and bolts and screws and all the right types of fittings. Like I take a screwdriver with a multi-tip end.
Exactly.
And again, for space wise, you got to look at those types of things, right? Multi tools are great, and it's surprising how often you use those on a trip.
Absolutely.
We were just out and one of the guys' sail tracks came off. So what are you going to do, right? So anyway, he had some hose clamps with him, and he, jury rigged a solution and was able to sail the rest of the trip.
There you go.
So, and then you want to take a look at your sails. So again, for depending on the type of trip that you're on, this last trip I took just the basic sails. I had my main, my jib. Sometimes guys will take a storm jib. I also had a small spinnaker that I took with me for light wind days. I don't go too crazy on a big sail inventory just because it takes up so much space in the small cabin. Mm-hmm. But again, depending on the kind of a trip that you're on, you might want to look at that. But you got to make sure that you've got them, because I've seen guys show up at the ramp and, oh crap, I left my jib at home. And then you're out there sailing around with just
the main. Yeah, that's easy to happen.
I went on a trip and left my main sheet behind.
I've left with the rudder in the garage. It's like, oh shit, I got to go back at the rudder.
Well, we went up, I had a DS-16 and we were up in Barrie, and it was blowing like stink. It was blowing about 20 knots, right? And of course, all I had was the block on the boom, and I basically just tied it off to a little line to the end of the transom. So I was horsing that thing, just trying to hold on to it, right? Because there was no extra purchase for an extra block or anything. So I learned that lesson. That went on the list. Right. Make sure you got the old rudder tiller, obviously, all these things. Whisker pole. I've just come up with a new little system for my whisker pole.
You'll have to show me that.
Oh, it works so great.
Yeah.
And you could probably make one if you want.
Right,
to.
That's the idea.
And this one's adjustable, and again makes a huge difference. Like we were out, downwind. Some days you're out there 7-8 hours, right? You just set it and forget it. It was beautiful.
Right.
Just nice. Sailing along. Nice. But again, you don't have it, not great.
Right.
Battens obviously are important, right?
Yeah.
on my boat, yours too, right? We've got that one huge full length batten.
One big one, and two little ones. Like one big one,
like a friggin' gaff, right? So got to make sure that's there. So I always just leave that one installed.
Yeah, I just leave them in. I don't bother.
And good foul weather gear.
Yeah.
Not something you want to skimp on. No. If you're out for a weekend, okay, but. Yeah, if you're going for a week.
Even then, you get soaked, you want to go in the cabin, so you want to change. Definitely.
It's miserable. I've started now where I used to wear boots, and that's okay, like early in the year, but now I just wear like those water shoes, and they're great. They get wet, they dry really quick.
I mostly wear, I guess it's a brand, the Crocs. I mean,
Crocs,
that's usually what I wear because I don't care whether I lose them or not, right? So
yeah, exactly. Pair of Crocs or something like that.
Sandals, whatever you're comfortable.
As soon as it starts raining, boop, I put those on and we're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're taking a dinghy, things like you want to make sure that you've got all the things that you need for the dinghy. So again, you got to go back and say, okay, I need the oars for the dinghy as well. Make sure that you've got a good bailer and sponge, etc. If there's a seat that you got to put in it, all key to making sure that works out well.
The fun part, navigation.
So I'm using a GPS mostly now. I use a handheld GPS. I've been using one of those for quite a while, and I know a lot of guys are using Navionics now on their phones or the tablet, which is also great.
Yeah.
It
just burn battery a little faster. And
that's the thing, right? And this is one of those choice things. So you look at it and you say, like, for me, I like to keep it pretty simple.
Yeah.
So I don't have a solar setup on my boat.
Right.
A lot of guys do, and more and more guys do. But for now, I'm using a GPS, and it just uses AA batteries. And what I try to do for any devices that I have, I try to keep as many of them on the same kind of battery as I can.
Right.
So AA or AAA. That's it. I try not to have like D cells, C cells, and like a million different kinds.
Yeah.
It's good. Most of my stuff is AA. And then what I do is I just go to Home Depot and I buy one of those
Big packs.
48 packs of, AA batteries, and I'm set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Load it in there.
Yeah.
And off I go. The GPS, it doesn't burn very much. It's like I can run it almost full time on 2 batteries for probably 2 days.
Nice.
So, and then I don't have to worry if it's a cloudy day or it's raining or whatever.
Right. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it works good. And then what I do for auxiliary power is I bring power banks.
Right.
Those little power banks.
Right.
And like on the last trip, I think I took about 6 of them. And I'm going to say they were 10,000 milliamp off the top of my head. So I'd have enough that if I wanted to do some videotaping while I was out there, charge my phone.
Right, because you video a lot, so you want to be able to recharge that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's mostly what I use it for, is for my phone.
Right.
And I don't have to worry if I want a phone or if I want to take pictures or anything. I'm covered 100%. And I came back and I had still had, I don't know, probably half of the power banks were still full.
Oh, nice.
I've got a little solar one too now that's kind of cool. So if I want, I can always put that on the deck and charge that one up, right? But those are really key, like for me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that I've added to my list for sure.
Yeah.
So I use I've used my phone a little bit for navigation, but like I say, GPS mostly for me. And I still use paper charts. I always have the paper charts. Actually, legally, you have to.
Right. Nobody checks for that, but yes.
I don't think anybody's ever checked.
No.
But legally, you are required to have that.
I like to look at them at home, but I don't like, especially on the Potter. It's just, it's like, no, I don't bring them. I don't bother.
Yeah. I have, because I like to write on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine are like, they're awful. They look like somebody's workbook because I write notes all over them.
Nice.
And we name all our own codes because, as you know, where we go, most of the places don't even have a name.
No, because big boats can't get in there. So
they can't get in there, right? So, and it's just all these endless little coves and rivers and things like that that we go into. So we just circle it and whatever. We'll call this one, whatever, Sterncleat Cove. We had one year where we went and
yes, that's Thursday.
I was in a Wayfair and I put these new Sterncleats on my boat. And as I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, man, you're going to catch the main sheet on this. And then I think, oh, no, I won't catch it. I'll be careful. Sure enough, first day out, we're sailing along. Don't I get caught with this big gust? We got a full week's worth of gear in the boat. And I jammed the frickin' main sheet on the stern. I was so mad at myself. And it went right up on the rail. I mean, I was standing on the other side of the boat. And I thought, for sure, I'm going for swimming, right? I almost fell off the boat.
Yeah.
That's how,
Yeah.
Up on the rail. Anyway, so I was so angry at myself. Anyhow, so I got it flattened back out again. I went into this little cove that didn't have a name yet. And I took my saw out and I cut the horns off the cleats and I dropped them in the lake. That's not very environmental, but that's what I did. Anyway, I was so mad. And so then that became Sterncleat Cove. But that's why I like it, because then we start talking about these different places.
Yeah.
And, we can say, oh, we went to Warmwater Cove, or we're planning on going to, whatever, Little Italy or something like that. Yeah. And that's why I like the charts. We can just
mark them,
jot it down.
Down.
And so I,
Good
with
point.
that, obviously I've got a chart bag that I keep them in just so that they don't get soaked, and something heavy enough, chart bag wise, that's not going to blow away,
right?
Or that has a string that you can clip onto something. Guess how I learned that?
Yeah, there's a lot of learning. That's why I called you,
Yeah,
because
there's a lot
there's a
of
lot of
learning
learning in
here.
this
Yeah,
list.
yeah. You don't learn everything from everybody else, if you know what I'm saying. So you try and learn as much as you can, but
Take notes, kids.
yep, sometimes it just slaps you in the face.
That's right.
Right. I still use a compass a fair amount as well. Well, you know what I've done now that I like is I've got a compass, and it's not a big one, but I sit it on the seat in the cockpit, and I put Velcro on it. So on the base of it, it has Velcro, and on the back of it, it has Velcro. And I put the compass right in the corner of the seat and the bulkhead of the cabin.
Right.
And then, so if I'm on the starboard side of the boat, I can have it there, and I got the GPS right beside it. And then if I switch sides, take it off, and I put it over on the other side, and I Velcro it over there on that side. And for me, it works great. You know, we were just on this trip recently, and holy crap, the fog just came in. We had about 50 yards of visibility. I couldn't see a thing. We got out there, everybody disappeared.
Yes.
Like, literally, and you know, I mean, you're fairly close when you're motoring out the harbor, right? Yeah. Poof, gone. Didn't see them again for like 6 hours. Didn't see the shore again for
That's
6
unnerving.
hours.
That's unnerving a little bit.
Yeah. And, you know, you're sailing along, and like, man, you want to be on that proper heading, because, you know, what happens if your GPS dies? You're hooked completely, because there's nothing to reference with a chart. So anyway, I've kind of stuck with that. A little bit old school, but it works. Yeah. I like to have dividers, pencils, erasers, so that I can, you know, just do the manual thing to check out my distances. It was funny. We were on a trip, and Brian says, okay, well, you know, I got my dividers out, and I measured out the distance from here to here, and it was whatever it was. And Marty yells over from his boat, "You brought dividers?" And Brian says to him, "Yeah, didn't you?" Marty says, "I didn't bring a chart." He's like, follow the leader, right? So, anyway, it's good to have those things as well. Yeah.
We could talk about the galley, but that could go on for a while. We could do a whole episode on galley, you and me, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did that.
You did a great video on that, actually. So
that little video. Thanks. Yeah, it was fun, and I've made a few little changes here and there. But
you always do.
Man, that's really worked out nicely for me. You know, I've got a Pelican case. You can see it if anybody wants to see the video. Just go to Potter on the Water is the name of the YouTube channel. And have a look there. You'll see what I take in my kit. But it's just like a Pelican case. Right. And I've got all my key things there. Got a nesting set of pots and my stove. I started using this new stove that works really, really well also. It's one of these dual gas things. You can use it with the isobutane canisters, or you can use it with propane. Wow. It came with a little adapter.
There's an adapter for it. Okay, nice.
And man, it lasts. The butane just seems to last forever on this thing. It's awesome. I went in last year because I'm still getting used to it a little bit, and I took, I think, 4 cartridges because I wasn't sure, right? And I took some of the bigger ones, and I used one.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was for 10 days.
Wow. The big one.
So,
the big one.
Yeah, it was, maybe 6 inches tall.
Yeah.
Worked fabulous.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, and I've got one that's that size. The stove that I bring, it's got a little. It all folds up.
Right.
And
I've got that one too.
It's great. Aren't they great? I'd use the butane ones, like the little flat ones. They look like they come like in a little suitcase.
Right,
you know?
right.
And I like those because they have good. I always like them because they had the good control of the temperature.
Right.
So they were a little bit better for that, I found, than the propane one. But they're not as good when it gets cold.
Right.
Because they don't pressurize as well. Mm-hmm. So that's why I like this.
You like the propane for that.
Yeah, and this one's got the little adapter. Mm-hmm. So early in the year, I can use the same stove. I just put the little adapter, and then I can use the little green bottles in the springtime and in the fall.
Yeah.
And then during the rest of the year, I can use the regular butane stuff.
Nice.
And and I've also got, back to the 2 is 1 and blah blah blah. I've got a really micro folding one. It looks like almost like a big Zippo lighter, and it's the same kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so I keep that one. It actually fits right inside of my kettle, so it doesn't take up any extra room in my galley box.
Yeah.
I've almost stopped taking plates and bowls with me now. No. I just eat right out of the pot.
Exactly.
And it just saves on washing dishes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But it's all those little things, right? That you think, you know what, it's just me.
Yeah.
If I was, with other people and friends and stuff, maybe I'd pack other things. But I actually have started now a galley checklist specifically that I keep in that little Pelican case, because you take it all out to wash it. And I've done this before. You get up there and you forget your pots, because you grab the galley box and you think, oh, everything's in there.
Yeah, you got to make sure we pack it.
It's in the dishwasher, you knob.
Good idea. Good idea.
Right? So now I've got a little checklist.
Good idea.
And I do the same now for my food.
Yeah.
So I'm useless when it comes to figuring out how much food I should take. Like we talked about this before,
yeah,
right?
On trips, I just roughly calculate what I want, and I just throw a whole bunch. I don't overplan for it. I think if I go maybe 2 weeks like you've done, then I think that's really needed. But for the weekend, a couple of days, I'm not too worried.
I'm useless though. Like, I'm the kind of guy, I go shopping like for groceries or something, and I come home with like, a chicken, a box of honeycomb, and a lettuce, and I can't figure out, why can't I make a meal, right? Because I forget, I didn't bring the milk or whatever. So I'm not good with that. So again, I go back. I made a little menu plan thing, and for me it works great. I've got like I start on Saturday, and I do like right through till the following Sunday. So it's a 10-day thing. Yeah. And I put breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I have snacks. Yeah. And then down at the bottom, I've got all the things that, like coffee and sugar and salt and pepper and, all those things that aren't actual meals, but
condiments, whatever else you need.
Margarine, right? All that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I fill that all in. And, that I find really works well too. So we've got that checklist on our site in the files section as well. So if anybody wants to use that, knock yourselves out.
Right. Should you bring a cooler? That's a question I get asked people. I don't, but some people do. So
yeah, it depends on the boat.
Yes.
When I had the Alberg 22, I used to take a cooler on that. It fit really nicely right under the stairway in the companionway, right? And it worked great. It's like a knockoff of a Yeti.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's not a real Yeti because I can't afford that.
They're so crazy.
But it's one of those. Yeah, I got this one from Princess Auto.
Okay.
Here in Ontario, which is kind of like Harbor Freight, I think, in the States.
Yeah,
kind
Harbor Freight in the States very similar. Is exactly the same.
I forget the name of it now. Sportsman Valley or something like that. And I saw them, and it was $100, and it was a decent size. And I thought, you know what, for $100, I'll give it a try. And man, it was great. I can keep ice in that for about 4 days. And so then I would start to take some bacon, or take a little, take some hamburger, or different things like that. Take some cheese, but mostly now with the Potter, I don't bother.
Yeah.
Or like I had my CL16, my Wayfarer. I never bothered with the cooler. It's just not worth the space for me.
I have a floppy cooler that I call it. I just throw stuff in there. I'm not really worried too much about cooling stuff.
Yeah.
Even the beer I bring, the no alcohol beer, is you drink it like in England, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You just kind of keep it down in the bilge there.
Keep it in the bilge, or put in the water even.
Keep it semi-cool, and that's good enough.
Exactly. Facilities discussion at the people never like to talk about facilities.
Well, this one always comes up, so we
Yes.
can get right into it if you want to.
We'll cover it briefly.
Okay, so a lot of the guys are using, like on the list here, I've got facilities, so porta potty supplies, toilet paper, wet wipes are a good thing to bring as well, particularly if the water's cold and you know you're not going to be going for a swim every day or two.
Right.
They're great for washing your hands and other things.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Right. Now, the porta potties, some of the guys are using like the chemical ones. They work pretty well. A lot of the guys now are using wag bags.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a really good way to go. You can buy these, they're basically like a 5-gallon bucket, and it's got the seat that snaps on it.
Yeah.
And, you just do your business, and then you fold it all up, and then you jam it down into this really heavy duty, super duty kind of a Ziploc bag, seal it up. Now, I'm going to be honest, you're going to want to put that little surprise somewhere
Far.
that's sealed.
Yeah.
Because, even though they say, it contains all the odor and stuff, man, you don't want to be sleeping next to that.
No, I actually throw cat litter on it too. So
yeah, a lot of guys are doing that. I find with the wag bags, a really good solution is to have a Home Depot bucket. Get one of the small Home Depot buckets, not the great big one, but the small one with the sealing lid on it.
Yeah.
You put the lid on, you put all your surprises in there, you put the lid on, and honestly, it keeps it really, really scent free.
Right.
And I keep them right in the cabin. Like even lots of times, even at night, you don't smell anything, and it works. And then obviously later on, you get rid of it all, and that's going to be up to you how you go about that. But I think most people, you can either put it down the toilet when you get home or whatever you want to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But that seems to work really well.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do a little disclaimer and say this all depends on your local regulations.
Correct.
And blah, blah, blah. So don't follow my advice if it's not legal where you are. But
I also do big Gatorade bottle, empty, of course.
Yeah.
For those midnight run.
Absolutely, right? No, for sure. It's that's another key one, right? Because once you get the screens up, where we are,
you don't want to pull it out. You don't want to pull it out.
Down south, man, you don't want to be pulling all those no-see-ums are coming in or mosquitoes, whatever.
That's right.
So, get yourself a bottle for nighttime. Yeah. And
good.
And that works great. And, one of the things, going back to Brian and how his experience level, like down at the bottom here, he puts 1 can of butane per person for 4 days in hot weather, right? Yes. And then he's got 3/4 liter of stove alcohol per person per week. 5 liters of water per day per person. That's more than I would use.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
we can talk a little bit about the water too. I mean, you do need to bring some water, but now today there's filters too. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm using a filter now. Again, when I had the bigger boat, I didn't worry about it quite so much. I probably should have, but I was using, I would just go to the store and buy a case of water.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's a little bit bad for the environment because you've got all those plastic water bottles. That's right. It's so convenient, but I never felt good about it. So now I'm using, where we sail, of course, it's all fresh water and the water's pretty clean. Yeah. So I'm just using one of those MSR water pump filters. Yeah. I started using that, and man, it is fantastic. Yeah. I've got a couple of drinking bottles, and they hook right onto the pump, and you just pump the water directly into it, put the lid back on, and you're good to go. And you can do whatever you want with the water. Yeah. I keep one now for drinking specifically. The blue one is now, I keep that right with me in the cockpit. Yeah. That's I get lazy though, eh? And I
that's
find
one thing you forget easily. I forget easily. So I have to drink all the time. You're busy. You're sailing. I have to make a point. Drink water.
Well, the last trip I was on, and it's happened to me a couple of times. I get out there and I get all excited and I'm sailing and it's so great. And if it's not handy, and this is another thing about sort of preparation and organization. if it's not handy, you're not going to use it.
Right.
And so all this stuff that's on the list, you got to make sure you can access it all.
Right. Right.
Because if you can't, again, you know what? Don't take it, because all you're doing is weighing down your boat with a bunch of crap that you're not going to use.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Right. That's
and you know, the water bottle thing. Like the last trip we were on, I ended up sailing all day. I don't think I had anything to drink. The sun was out. The next day I woke up, I felt like I had a freaking hangover.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you get the headache. You feel sick.
Well, your water content was pretty far down, so
that's
not good.
Well, now I've started using these little flavor things. They're like little crystals,
right?
And you just pour them in. My daughter gave me some with electrolytes in them, and you just pour it in,
nice.
And you can get all different flavors, like iced tea or
yes.
lemonade or whatever you want. And I got a variety of them. They're fantastic.
Nice.
I mix that up in the morning before I go anywhere now, and that bottle sits right there.
Makes it more interesting to drink too.
Yeah, it just visually it reminds you that you should be drinking all the time, right?
That's right, exactly.
So,
juice boxes. I do bring juice boxes. Kids' juice boxes. They're cardboard, so you get your vitamin C with that, and so the C plus and things like that. So that's usually goes every time for my breakfast, really. So
yeah, the other one that's good in those boxes, if you can get it, is they have milk. And so if you like milk in your coffee or on your cereal, and what I would do is I would put a bit of milk into my coffee, and then I would save the rest and have that for cereal, whether it's porridge, if it's cold in the morning or whatever. And there was a special kind
it's the UHT milk, I think.
Yeah, that's the one.
Right.
That's
yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to find here, but it's very common in Europe, actually. In Europe, it's fantastic. They have yogurt that doesn't need to be refrigerated.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do. That's fantastic.
Yeah. No, and I found it a little bit tougher to get during the summertime because none of the kids are in school.
Right.
So I think it's maybe a little bit more of a seasonal thing. Maybe. But yeah, I've used that
UHT
also.
Milk is good. Yeah.
Solar shower is another one.
Yeah. Well, you and I are alone on the boat, so usually it's not as crucial, but yeah.
That's right. That's right. But it's nice, right?
It is.
Sometimes you can just put that solar shower out on the deck if it's a nice hot day, and then you can have a bit of a shower. Like we were out just recently. The water was still only about 60 degrees.
Yeah, that's cold. It's still cold.
A little fresh.
Yeah.
A little fresh, right?
Yeah,
you don't want to be splashing that on you.
What's that in Celsius? That's probably 15, 17,
yeah.
17 Celsius.
Yeah.
That's pretty cold water.
15, yeah.
That's pretty cold water.
Brian was singing soprano there. He went for a little swim. And you get down to that key spot there. Woo.
Covered most of it. Sleeping accommodation, of course. Sleeping bags and pillows, of course. Yeah.
All that stuff. Yeah. Your sleeping bags, your pillows. And one of the things that I do is, just talking a little bit about organization and accessibility of this stuff. I sort of think about my boat now in terms of 3 rooms.
Okay.
So I've got the starboard side in the cabin, I got the port side in the cabin, and I got the cockpit.
Right.
And at any given time, I need to have one of those rooms clear and another one a little bit clear.
Right.
So it's like if you had a house and you didn't have a hallway to get to your stuff.
Yes.
And what I found was I'd get stuff all jammed in there, but then I couldn't get to my foul weather gear because it was way in the bow. And then I'd wait too long and then I'd be wet, right? Start pouring and then, oh my God. So
you do have to organize it.
You really, really do. And then at night now, what I've started doing is putting stuff out in the cockpit. And depends on the night. Sometimes I'll leave if it's a really calm night, I'll leave the bimini up or the boom tent up. But sometimes I don't bother. And I just put a bunch of stuff out in the cockpit. And I've got the waterproof bags, and I put all my stuff in there.
Get a bunch of those. That's great. Even for your clothes, keep them in there so they don't get moldy or anything. So.
Absolutely, my clothes are always in one, and they work great for that. And then what I do is I have an extra one, and I put that down on my berth so that during the day when I'm sailing, like I have an extra anchor, and the extra anchor lives out in the cockpit during the night. I put it back into the cabin during the day.
Yes.
And that's, I always have like a rubber or a plastic sheet kind of a thing down, because if there's dew overnight, that stuff gets wet, right? So even like my cooking gear, well, great that it's all in a Pelican case, but when I go to put it back inside, it soaks everything. Well, that's no good. No. So I have things that I put down on the cushion.
Nice.
I use the other thing I use a lot is my my boat hook.
Yeah.
And I don't use it so much for
locks,
normal stuff. Yeah. I use it for accessing stuff.
Right.
And a lot of my things now I've got with little straps on them. So when I need to get my water filter, and if it's up in the bow, it's got a little strap. So I make sure that the straps are all sticking up on all the little kits I've got.
Yep.
I just reach in with my boat hook, I hook it, and I haul it back to me. It works great.
That's great, Kelly. I think this is a great episode. I think really helpful to people. We'll be sharing this list, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. And, that's what it's there for. Yeah. And like I say, it's just an Excel spreadsheet. So knock yourselves out if you guys want to change it
to yourself. To your needs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To your own boat and your own needs.
Yeah. I think we covered a lot. That's been great, as usual, Kel. Thank you.
No problem. Anytime. Good to talk to you. And folks, if you're interested in getting out, doing some small boat cruising or just yapping online, make sure check us out on the Can-Am Dinghy Cruising Association. We're getting members from all over Canada and now down into the United States, particularly in the northern states. And it's a great way to meet up with other people, yak online with us, and plan trips. We have so much fun. I think we have 12 trips this year, and really good group of people. So.
Yeah, I think it's the same pretty much everywhere. There's groups everywhere. Reach out for a group and get started. It's the best way.
Absolutely. Well, been fun, Stefan. Nice talking to you. I hope we see you on a trip. I guess we got one coming up
next week. I think in a week.
Next week.
A week and a half.
Gotta get organized.
So what do you think? This is pretty helpful. Any other technical topics you would like to be covered? I can find some experts to cover that. Let me know in the comments, in our Facebook group, Nano Cruising, on nanocruising.com, on the blog. After all, this is for you. Thank you to my listener for the support, for the feedback, for getting these people lined up. I really appreciate it. Until next time, seize your own adventure.